It is now 90 seconds to midnight.
1 year ago, the Doomsday Clock moved to just 90 seconds away from midnight. Midnight means apocalypse, total annihilation, end of humanity and possibly the entire Earth. At 90 seconds, the Doomsday Clock is closer to midnight than it has ever been since it was created in 1947. What pushed the clock so close to Armageddon at the beginning of 2023 was mainly the Russia-Ukraine war, the threat of nuclear holocaust, climate change and disease. Every year, the clock is either moved closer or farther from midnight by a group of scientists who study what's going on in the world. The idea of the clock was created by a group of scientists, including Albert Einstein, who had helped make the world's first nuclear bomb in America. In a few days' time, the clock will again be moved, just a few months after another war broke out, this time between Israel and Hamas. Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine are still fighting, and at least 5 other conflicts either simmered or spilled over in 2023, from China and Taiwan to Venezuela and Guyana, civil war in Myanmar, fighting in Nagorno-Karabakh, and unrest in the Sahel region of Africa. So it would not be inaccurate to call 2023 a year of conflicts. Meanwhile, even before the new year arrived, 2024 was labelled the year of elections. More than 60 countries will reportedly hold elections this year. If that does not seem big, here's a number for perspective. Around half of the entire world's population will be casting their vote this year. The results of some of these countries' elections will impact not just themselves, but large parts of the world. Some are obvious, like India and America and the European Union, but some are less so. Also, a lot of countries involved in the ongoing conflicts will hold polls. So let's take a look at some of these places, beginning with those going to elections the soonest. One of the first ones going to elections is Taiwan on January 13. The result of the elections may decide which approach China adopts towards the island territory. Beijing claims Taiwan as a breakaway part of its territory. On December 26, China President Xi Jinping said that Taiwan's reunification with mainland China is inevitable. In the running for presidency are 3 former mayors. One of the favorites is Vice President Lai Ching-te, from the party of incumbent President Tsai Ing-wen. Tsai's rule saw Taiwan focusing on its defense and building deeper relations with the West, mainly America. This irked China, which spoke out repeatedly against this growing bonhomie. If China gets inspired by Russia and decides to take harsher steps, one of the key players to watch would be India, since India faces a similar threat from China. Beijing has laid claim to many Indian territories, from Ladakh to Arunachal and Uttarakhand. The other big election scheduled in January is Bangladesh on the 7th. The polls are mired in controversy since opposition parties are asking voters to boycott the ballot unless it's conducted by an impartial caretaker government. Interestingly, India's ally America is reportedly supporting the opposition Jamaat-e-Islami, which is vocally anti-India. Many believe that current Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will return to power for her 4th consecutive term. Delhi will watch the outcome closely, since Bangladesh shares borders with multiple Indian states and is also an important partner in a volatile neighborhood. On February 8, Pakistan will go to polls. The country is battling multiple crises. There are unprecedented economic troubles, including food shortages and skyrocketing energy prices. Terror attacks happen regularly. And making it all worse is huge political upheaval. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who challenged the all-powerful army, is in jail. So are many of his party's leaders and supporters. Meanwhile, former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is back in the country after a long exile, looking to be back in the hot seat. While Sharif has been sending reconciliatory messages about India, the other contender, Bilawal Bhutto, is likely to maintain the current freeze in ties with Delhi. On March 17, Russians will vote in a presidential election. Vladimir Putin is expected to comfortably win a fifth term as president, with critics questioning the fairness of the elections. Many political opponents of Putin, like Alexei Navalny, are in jail. People from areas of Ukraine which Russia claims to have annexed will also be voting, according to Russian officials. The country is struggling with many problems, including economic, because of sanctions over the Ukraine war. There might also be some anger over forced military conscriptions. If Russians choose to express their anger through the ballot, it would be important even if not revealed publicly. Putin's future decisions might be dictated by public sentiment revealed in the polls. Whether the decisions will have a positive or negative outcome remains to be seen. Meanwhile, Ukraine is supposed to hold elections on March 31 according to its constitution. But the nation is currently under martial law because of Russia's invasion, so legally elections are on hold. President Volodymyr Zelensky has also said that having polls amid the war would be utterly irresponsible. Also in March will be the Iranian parliamentary elections. Iran is not directly involved in the Israel-Gaza war, but it is considered one of the most important players in the conflict. This is because Iran is one of the biggest sponsors of Hamas, as well as other groups currently attacking Israel and its biggest ally, America. These include the Lebanese Hezbollah, Yemeni Houthis, and multiple groups in Syria and Iraq. Iran is facing economic troubles and also socio-political upheaval. There were huge protests over the death of Mahsa Amini in September 2022. Mahsa died in custody after being accused of not properly wearing her hijab, or Islamic head covering for women. Critics claim that the polls are unlikely to be free and fair. Conservative leaders are expected to tighten their hold on power. In April and May will be the big one. The planet's most populous country going to elections in a massive democratic exercise. Incumbent Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his party BJP are likely to face an opposition alliance which is still in the works. Whoever wins will have many challenges to face, mainly on the international front. Security challenges from China and Pakistan, economic troubles arising out of wars in Europe and the Middle East. Attacks on Israel-linked ships became an all-too-real threat recently when a ship was attacked just 400 kilometers off the Gujarat coast. There are also some alliance troubles in the Western Hemisphere to take care of. Canada and America appear to be trying to corner India over allegations of either trying or actually committing assassinations of pro-Khalistani extremists who have foreign citizenship. Canada's claims of Indian government agents being involved in Hardeep Nijjar's murder have already soured relations. Meanwhile, the US is also investigating charges that an Indian agent tried to have Gurpatwant Pannoon, a US-Canadian citizen, killed. Both Nijjar and Pannoon are designated terrorists in India. From June 6 to 9, voting will be held in 27 member states of the European Union. People will elect more than 700 representatives for the European Parliament. The EU Parliament is accused of being a weak body, but it does have the ultimate decision-making power in appointing the EU's power centre, the President of the European Commission. The results are likely to impact how the bloc continues to help Ukraine. There is already some pro-Russia pressure from countries like Hungary and Slovakia. Also on the line are issues like immigration, climate policy, and also attitude towards China. There is a fear that, like many member states, the parliament may also tilt towards the political right. Finally, in November will be possibly the most important election in terms of global impact. November 5, Americans will choose their next president. There is speculation that, like 2020, it will be a contest between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. The election may decide the fate of the Russia-Ukraine war in case the conflict stretches on till then. Trump's Republican Party has already been blocking President Biden's attempts to send more aid to Ukraine. Trump is also accused of being sympathetic towards Putin. Also, during his tenure, Trump attacked fellow members of the NATO military alliance, accusing them of not contributing enough. He exited from the nuclear deal with Iran, which was aimed at keeping its nuclear program in check. Trump also pulled the US out of international bodies like the World Health Organization. Additionally, Trump had slapped tariffs on European allies to please American producers. If he wins, another tariff war with Europe is likely to ensue. On India, not much is likely to change. Trump had a positive attitude towards India in terms of security. But again, trade may be a hurdle in India-America relations. In his last tenure, Trump had taken away India's special trade status. Since India will go to elections before America, it remains to be seen which Indian leader will be dealing with a possible Trump presidency. Interestingly, there are also many Indian Americans part of the polls. While Biden already has Kamala Harris as his deputy, the Republicans are also seeing a primary contest between Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley. America's friends across the pond are also likely to have elections this year. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has said that the United Kingdom will go to polls before 2024 ends. The major election issue is likely to be the economy. And although Sunak is a comparatively new premier, his party has been in power for nearly 14 years and also suffered from one controversy after another. However, India is likely to enjoy good relations with whichever party wins, Conservative or Labour. We started by talking about the Doomsday Clock. When it is updated a few days from now, the outlook is bleak. There are more conflicts raging than last January. Efforts to prevent climate disaster remain as feeble as ever. But we can hope that after a year of elections in almost every part of the world, next year the Doomsday Clock moves not closer, but away from midnight.